Hello there. David Eisenman here again with another Making a Difference. My guest tonight is Mary Altenbernd, and before we began the program, Mary said, "What does your title mean anyway?" And Mary, I think that's exactly what we're going to find out tonight, because we have an interesting topic, you and I, to discuss, and that is how people like you make differences in your own lives and in the world around you, just in the course of pursuing the things that come along. We had lunch the other day, you and I, because somebody said, check out Mary Altenbernd, it's sort of the perfect life of service. Furthermore, she enjoys it. And I came away from our lunch with the sense that indeed you do, every minute of it. Why don't we just sort of get a little fix on what you do these days? Tell me about your Thursdays, since that was the day we had lunch.
Well, Thursday afternoon, immediately after lunch, I go to the Rare Book Room in the University.
Not quite. You do something else first.
I pick up something, don't I? I go to WILL Radio, and I pick up the community and cultural announcements to be typed for the AM, FM radio, and the engineer, which will be broadcast the following week. They give me sheets, usually 8.5 by 11 sheets. I edit this down onto a 3x5 card, 3 copies of each.
So you do your weekly WILL
yes,
pickup?
I pick that up. Then I go to the Rare Book
Then
Room.
you go to the Rare Book Room.
To clean books, as we say, to clean dirty books. What we're doing is restoring rare books. And there are about 100,000 to be restored. And volunteers, such as I, are cleaning those books on the days of the week that are most convenient for us. I go Thursday afternoon from 1 to 3.
How many books do you clean a week?
Depends a lot on the size of the book and which operation we do on each day. There are about 4 operations to restoring a book. And if you'd like to know what they are, I can tell you.
But you're going to tell us later in the same program when we go and see you at the Rare Book Room.
Well, perhaps I can explain it then.
So all the people out there who think that they might switch channels, don't do that, because we're going to be in the Rare Book Room just a little while from now. Magically, we will move from the studio and be over there, and Mary's going to show us what she does. Now, how do you get into something like cleaning books, and especially rare books?
Well, my husband and I are friends of the library.
And that's with capital F and L, and I mean, I'm a friend of the library too. I wave at it every time I go by, but you mean something different.
Yes, we contribute something annually to the library. And the people, I believe, who were first asked to do some work for the library on a volunteer basis were probably faculty wives, and there are a number of us who are faculty wives. And we were asked to either do research, that is, look for books in the stacks that you think ought to be a rare book. You look for the date and the condition of the book, and you look to see how many copies there are of that book. And if you think it's a rare book, you take it to the Rare Book Room, and they will decide whether or not it is a rare book, and then it'll be put in the Rare Book Room. Those are the searchers. Cleaners are the people who lengthen the life of a rare book. And when I started this job about 2 years ago, most of the books we cleaned at that time were very small, and most of them were Latin Old Testaments, beautifully bound in leather. A lot of them had gilt. And we were taught by Mary Siebert, the assistant to Fred Nash in the Rare Book Room, how to restore these books.
And you got into that because you got a note as a friend of the library that said, we now need additional help.
Yes.
So in these times of budget cuts at the University of Illinois and elsewhere, apparently volunteers such as you are making it possible to keep the library going.
Yes. And when we restore a book, often it ought to be rebound. But it costs about $250 to rebind one small book. So you know we can't do much of that. And what we do when we restore, I guess you could put restore in quotation marks with a book like that, but when we work on a leather volume that is badly damaged, after we are through cleaning it in the several steps that we do, we then tie it with a red cotton string or thread. It's about that wide.
You might call that red tape?
Red tape,
Yes.
cotton tape, red cotton tape. We tie a book that isn't holding together properly with red cotton tape when it is ready to go back on the shelves.
You know, this is fun that you do that. I'm amazed because the phrase red tape comes from precisely that material.
Does it really?
Oh, I think so. I was told
I
that
see.
all legal documents used to be tied up in this stuff before staplers and tape and all the modern things came.
So it took on
every
another
important
meaning.
thing. That's right. And then so red tape was what you tied important documents with, and you're
Yes.
still using it back at the Rare Book Room.
Yes.
Well, there you can go and see genuine red tape as well as
Yes.
genuine Gutenberg
Man-
Bibles.
Yes, and many of the books on the shelves are bound in red tape, and that's because the book isn't holding itself together very well.
But now you look at a collection like something that we have here at the University of Illinois. Imagine, as you've mentioned, that there are 100,000 volumes that need
100,000.
attention. You start figuring that you spend probably a couple of hours on each book, I assume, minimum, depending on the kind of condition it's in.
No, you mean on one book?
Yes.
No.
No.
For example, there were 3 of us there today, and we cleaned about 30 very large books.
Oh, all right. So it goes a
We
little
worked
faster.
2 hours, a little over 2 hours, and we did the first step.
The first of
The
the 4.
first step.
Okay. Well, we'll see more of this, but the point I guess
Yes.
we need to get to here is that the library staff are busy enough taking in new books, dealing with all of the demands on borrowing and so forth.
Right.
And if we're to preserve this incredible storehouse, it's going to take some labor, which at the moment we cannot
years.
afford, and years. I remember my first days wandering in Widener Library at Harvard. They didn't let everybody back there, but I finally got to the stage as an undergraduate where I had a stack pass. And the book I happened to be interested in was Townsend's The State of the Poor, 1797. And there was a first edition, 1797.
Yes.
And the thing about libraries, of course, for people who've never been back in the stacks, is that when you find the book you're looking for, the one on its right and the one on its left are almost invariably equally interesting and maybe more interesting. I remember coming out at 10 at night, having missed dinner, having no
Yes.
idea whether it was day or night, and I thought I had my hands on a book that was
That's
printed in 1797.
Right.
There's something perfectly marvelous about it.
There is.
And if you don't have that experience, you miss out on the difference between reading a textbook and reading an original. For example, Townsend isn't in any modern edition, but there's an abridgment from the 20s. I had it with me, and all the things that the abridger thought weren't important and deleted were precisely what I wanted. So the original took on a completely different cast for me
Of course.
from what somebody thought were all the important parts.
Yes.
People don't understand, I think, the mystique of this until they get back there. But now I take it that you hadn't trained your whole life to be the cleaner of a rare book. This
No.
isn't something that... in fact, Mary, what was your first education, for your first higher education?
I went to Kent State University in 1935 and took an elementary teacher's program. And at that time, Kent State University was known as a normal school. And many of the teachers that I went to school to in Canton, Ohio, were graduates of Kent Normal, which meant they had 2 years of college and they were educated. Well, I went in 35, and I believe in 36 or early 37, Kent State became a state university at the time that Mr. Davy was governor. You've heard of Davy tree surgeons?
Oh, yes.
Well,
sure.
this is the family of Governor Davy. It became a state university